where I am now recording.
All right, very good, very good. All right, Maharaj, tell us about net worth, tell us about money, tell us about financially free, financially stable. Give us some definitions, man, because I think everyone wants to be a millionaire, but nobody knows what it means.
So very, very true. So listen, let's start at the beginning before we jump into the topic. Let's invite and congratulate everybody for showing up. First and foremostly, for those of you who don't know us, we're the Yin Yang of Sales. My name is Vinesh Maharaj, my partner in crime, the man in rhyme, who's doing the time today on Net Worth, Mr. Stephen Van Basten. He's streaming out of the south of Joburg. I'm out in the west, and we're coming to you wherever you are today on this Wednesday. Today's Wednesdays, and on Wednesday we focus on lifestyle mastery, and part of our program and our offer, our opportunities. My name is Vinesh Maharaj, the man in rhyme, who's doing the time today on Net Worth, Mr. Stephen Van Basten. He's streaming out of the south of Joburg. I'm out to the west. All good? Wednesdays, and on Wednesday we focus on lifestyle mastery, and part of our program and our offer, our opportunities. My name is Vinesh Maharaj, the man in rhyme. Stephen, all good?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I was just getting a massive echo.
Yes, my apologies. I am just trying to share a couple of things, and then my system gets a bit confused when there are, too many things happening. So very good. I am now all yours.
So yeah, I was saying that on Wednesdays we talk lifestyle mastery. Today we're talking net worth, understanding your money blueprint, understanding what is your net worth, how do you define it, what does it mean, how do you improve it, how do you increase it, how do you get more of the money so you can get more of the living. Stephen is a wealth coach, amongst his many lives, minister, speaker, author, trainer, also a wealth coach, and I thought it'll be appropriate today to talk net worth. The reason for this, Stephen, is lots of people's economies are imploding, especially the entrepreneur. For some people who are employed, there's retrenchments looming. How do they understand their net worth, and how do they create more net worth for themselves? Let's start off with some definitions. You have some very cool questions about, understanding net worth. So I'll pass to you and get you rolling.
Sure. Listen, so firstly, if I were to ask firstly, who wants to be a millionaire? Who wants to be a multi-millionaire in US dollars?
Oh, double hands. Yeah.
Who wants to be a billionaire? Woo! Yeah, but here's the question. There are actually a whole bunch of definitions around this. Now, many years ago when we started out in sales, Vinesh, in my case, 30 years ago, right? A millionaire was a salesperson who did R1 million worth of sales in a year. Okay, then that wasn't enough anymore, and it's a salesperson who earned R1 million in commission in a year. And so I prefer that definition to a degree. A millionaire is someone who earns R1 million a year after tax, ideally, in my opinion. So, but even that, people are going to go, well, when I say a millionaire, you're thinking of Bruno Mars. I want to be a millionaire so freaking bad, on the cover of Forbes magazine and checked into Oprah and the Queen. But so you've got this thing like you're John D. Martini on the boat, living a lavish lifestyle, etc., etc. And you can't do that on R1 million a year. So I think that I also quite like the definition of, and I think the more stable one is, when you have a net worth of $1 million, R1 million net worth, that's kind of millionaire status to me. But in South Africa, we be multimillionaire. You need 3 or 4 million to really be considered a millionaire. In other words, rich, like wealthy, rich, that you can do just about whatever you want if you needed to. So a lot of people, when you say define millionaire, they'll give you subjective things like, oh, you can go wherever you want with whoever you want and spend your own time, or you can go to Cape Town on holiday if you wanted to. Well, that's, to me, is financial stability. When you're financially stable, you can do that. But and then of course there's financially free. And John DeMartini tells us less than 1% of the human race are actually financially free, and that's defined by your passive income is higher than your expenses. That's a Robert Kiyosaki definition in the game cash flow. When you play cash flow round and round and round, month, until your passive income is bigger than your expenses, and then you're out of the rat race. Then you're financially free, and that's kind of where I think we should all be aiming. Is if you're in lockdown for 6 months, your passive income's bringing you the money. You don't have to stress about it. You can chill out and take 6 months off because the universe told you to go to your bedroom and think about what you've done. So this definition, I guess we should get to of net worth, and it's relatively simple. You work out all your assets, you subtract your liabilities, what's left over. So if you own a house of 2 million, but you owe the bank 1 million, and you've got some, you owe your car 200,000. You sell your home for 2 million. You pay off the debt of 1.2. You've got 800,000. That's your net worth on paper. Now, very often we'll overinflate our income or our assets and understate our liabilities. So, the asset test really is, what would your house sell on auction? So that's probably, if you think it's worth 2 million, then it's probably going to sell on auction at about 1.3 or 1.4. And so you're in a very different boat there. But net worth is important. If you want to become financially independent and financially free, you need to at least understand these very simple terms around money. So one day when you get there, you'll know, when you hit 2 million in the bank, you can go, or 2 million net worth. Oh, very good. On paper, I'm a multi-millionaire. Very good. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's really cool. I mean, that's a really cool introduction, because it gives the listeners and to the people on Facebook, thank you very much for joining us. Go like, comment, and share. We'd love to serve you. That's why we come live every Mondays and Wednesdays at 1 p.m. to do the segment. Today Stephen, we're talking about your net worth, and he just went through some high-level definitions. And the last one is your net worth is the total asset value less all your liabilities, and that difference will determine your net worth. So Stephen, the challenge, I guess, for a lot of people, so when you're 20 something, you're just getting out of the blocks, and you're starting to, the first thing most 20-year-olds want is a car and a flat. They want the independence. Wheels give them that, their own place gives them that, and they generally typically have place a low value on creating wealth, because they want to live, they want to get out there and do stuff. And then we got the people in their 30s who now have a home, have 2 kids, they have all the trappings of middle-class suburbia. And then you have the 40, 50-year-old people who are now looking towards a shorter distance of, hey, we've got a horizon called retirement. So through all these stages of life, this thing called net worth and wealth creation is not taught at schools. It's really not taught at university. Accountants are taught how to tell you what's wrong. They'll tell you what the problem is, but they won't help you fix it. You made a profit, but how much? Or you made a loss, and how much? So they give you the score. They don't give you the remedy or the recipe.
Yeah.
So what advice can we give, whether you're 20, 30, 40, 50 years old, what advice can we give so that people increase their understanding of net worth and start increasing their personal net worth? And you have a couple of cool ideas around this. One of those is like the infinity account, for example. So what are those high-level ideas we can share with people today, Stephen?
Yeah, man. First, let me thank you for about 34 questions in one sentence there.
I'm giving you a wide berth. Choose one.
Yeah, no. Help me stay on course here. So, listen, if I could go back to 20, Vinesh, firstly, the first thing is mindset. You're absolutely right. I went to JP Boys High School, and you know, our career guidance was find a job, you know, and find a company that'll employ you from cradle to grave and pay you a salary, and you know, that's the end of it. Ideally, in something you would enjoy doing. Okay, but never spoke about you know, about wealth. And in fact, my religious upbringing and my societal upbringing is actually quite negative around money. You know, the love of money is the root of all evil, and you know, anyone who's wealthy is a capitalist pig and a dirty, rotten swine, and rich people stole from the poor and stole people's pension monies, and you know, you hear all of these things, and there's really a actually traditionally, societally in the West, especially this anti-wealth, or this anti-being rich. You know, rich people are snobs, rich people are horrible, rich people don't care, you know, they're thieves, and etc. etc. So there's this whole mindset that ideally needs to change around, you know, that money is actually good, and money buys freedom, and money buys liberty, and it gives you the ability to not be bound, you know, not be bound by government, by the school system, by the capitalist system. You know, the capitalist system is what we have now. 1% are financially free, 99% aren't. You know, and probably a good 10% are below the breadline, or starving, or possibly 20% in the world. So it's really, you know, it's really this mindset that, you know, that there's enough for all, that there's money for all, and you know, we need to start with that. If I was 20 years old, I would start just saving a little bit every month, but there are actually two kinds of saving we need to do, Vanessa, in my opinion. You know, one's kind of saving, and the other's investing. And I know it sounds weird, but we need to save for big things. But so you're saving to spend on big things. You know, Jackie and I, you know, we've saved all our lives, but unfortunately, when we got to like 50 grand or something, we spent it on going overseas, or buying a house or something like that, which is fine. So we need to save to spend on big things, but we need to also invest for wealth creation, which is a concept that John DeMartini brought me about 8 years ago. It was very confronting. You know, that your infinity account is that you want to build wealth and build wealth and build wealth and build wealth and die a multimillionaire. You want to build wealth that you will never, ever, ever spend. And, you know, I was a consumer at that stage. I mean, you know, you get money, you spend it, you go out, you jewel, you buy a better car, you buy a better house, you buy nicer shoes now that you can afford them. And that's what it's all about. But, you know, what we do need to do is consider this concept of dying incredibly wealthy. In other words, you're building wealth that you will never, ever, ever spend. You build, and I hate, you know what, I don't like it necessarily when people say, oh, I want to build a legacy and I want to leave my kids a legacy. You know what, my kid must get wealthy on her own. You know, she mustn't wait for me to die so that she can take over my legacy. You know, and a lot of rich parents actually do that. And I think a lot of the richer parents are actually quite hard on their kids. Go, no, you go make your own money. You know, they give them a good grounding, but they're quite tough on them, which I think is good. So we need to build a legacy, blah blah blah. But that's egotistical to me. Oh, I'm leaving a legacy. Ah, well, bully for you. I think what you need to do is make sure that when you die, you're not a parasite on your children.
Yeah.
You know, you're not living in their backyard in the cottage, and they bring in you food, and you're feeling grateful, but you're also feeling in the way, and you're feeling like a burden in your last 5 years. You know, Vinesh, when we are 80, a loaf of bread's going to be 1,000 rand.
Yeah.
You know, when your pension's 5,000 rand, it ain't helping much. You know, that don't impress me much. Gosh, I must be a pop star in the next lifetime. So you know, we need to get this concept of building wealth but not spending it. So building a portion of it that we're not spending. And that would be your net worth, building your net worth, building your net worth, building your net worth, so that your net worth is more and more every year, because you haven't spent the money.
Sure. Listen, yeah, thanks, man. So, you know, to the 20-year-old, the 30-year-old. So what happens typically is that when you're young, you earn less and you have a lot of expenses in building a life for your family, your house, your car, private school fees, the insurance, and all the trimmings that go with it. And then when you get older, kids are gone. You don't have private school fees or university anymore. You typically have this asset called a house. And very often, people don't understand the definition of an asset. The definition of an asset. How would you define an asset for people who are on the chat today?
Yeah, so an asset is something that generates money, generates profits. So, you know, your car is not an asset. Okay, the house you live in is not an asset. Okay, necessarily. If you have a house that someone else lives in and pays you rent on, yes, that's an asset. The house you live in, okay, it's an asset in that, you know, in 20 years' time, you'll sell it for 10 times more than you bought it for. But right now, it's a liability because it needs paint and it needs water and lights, etc., etc. So your car is not an asset. You drive that off the, especially a new car. I never buy new cars. I buy demo models that are 3 months old, so they're just as good as new. But you drive your car off the showroom floor, it's less 30% immediately. Very silly. So an asset, you know, is something, you know, like for example, we have a system in the yin yang of sales. You know, our business is an asset. We put money into it. We do Facebook ads. We get people in. We sell our sales courses, and that generates us money. So you know, if you had bought a Bitcoin at $500, that would be an asset because it's closer to $9,000 right now. Whether it's a good or bad asset, that I don't want to argue. You know, if you're putting money into stocks, you know, you could buy some Satrix 40 or Satrix S&D 500 or Satrix Nasdaq, like $100 a month for 10 years, or buy some 100 Rand worth of Bitcoin for 10 years, or put some money into a call account. You're going backwards. Don't do that. But that's an asset. That's generating money for you. But a liability, you know, is something that's costing you money. So we need to be very careful around that. Now, in terms of net worth, yes, owning your house is cleverer than paying rent. And you know, after 10 years, that you will see every time you pay off a little bit of your house, your net worth should change slightly because you've gone into less debt, and your home should be increasing a little bit more. But yep, assets are things that create revenue, that make money, and liabilities cost you money. So, you know, also when, you know, Robert Kiyosaki, he was quite hectic on this in his game, you know, cash flow, about doodads. You go play golf, you go and play golf, $1,000 liability. You know, sign a deal for 20 million, asset. Yeah. So Robert Kiyosaki, for many years, he slept in his car, but he owned 20 homes, but other people were living in them, paying the bond off, you know, whatever they call it in America. So, you know, and a friend of mine once said something quite lovely. She said, there's no shame in living in your garage and renting out your home. There's shame in living in someone else's garage.
Wow, power, man. Listen, yeah. that's really insightful, especially for people who have this perception: if I own something, therefore it's an asset. It's not an ownership based. It's an income based conversation. If it produces you income, Stephen, you know, you said something which is really cool.
Right? So you can buy a block of flats, rent them out, but the rent doesn't cover the bond for the first five years. So yeah, it is an asset, but it's not generating you money and so that's a medium to long term plan. In 20 years, right, you know, when you've paid it off and now all of that rental is income, now that's a proper asset. So it's a liability initially.
Well, yes. So that's a very cool example, because that is a liability, or sorry, a debt-bearing asset. It's costing you money in the short term, and it becomes profitable asset in the long term. Yeah, very cool.
Like, you know, Vinesh, it's like buying a franchise. So you buy a McDonald's for $2 million. Is it an asset or a liability? Well, for the first 3 years, it's probably a liability.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
most franchises will break even in 3-4 years' time. It's a kind of an old-fashioned model, I think. Although franchising is very good, very clever, you know, you have some guarantees. If you buy McDonald's, it'll probably work. But I don't think you're going to become a multi-millionaire out of owning a McDonald's
right.
unless you own that thing for 10 years. You know, it
Yeah,
takes a while
yeah.
to break even. And then can we talk about debt as well? Because, Vinesh, firstly, can we just do a disclaimer? We are
Yes.
not financial advisors. Okay, we don't have a license. Anything we say should be taken as rhetorical, as thought-provoking, as something for you to meditate and contemplate and take to your financial advisor and get good financial advice on. Do not do anything because of anything we've said. We're just here to get you thinking. We're not financial advisors.
Yeah, and we're not selling you any products today or any system to help you generate more revenue or income.
Correct. So let's talk about, a lot of people have goals to be debt free. Now, it's actually quite interesting. So right now, let me give you an example. For some reason, when I worked for Bytes, Nedbank were trying to get home loans, and they offered people in big companies really good interest rates. So right now, my bond rate is 5%. So if I were to take R500,000 on my bond and put it into something that gave me 20% return, is that debt bad or good?
In my opinion, that's good debt.
I want to be using debt cleverly.
Right. And that's an education gap, a gap in this education system, and it's a flaw because people have understood debt to be a bad thing. Debt is something that chains you for life, and I think that people who don't have an income solution will have a debt problem. So if you could get 20% using the bank's money and repay the bank at 5%, you've got an asset in your debt. Your debt has become income producing without you having to work for it. That's pretty cool. I like that. Any other ideas like that?
Of course,
any other debt-based ideas?
Yeah, well, listen, the thing is that, most millionaires or billionaires or successful people will say, you never use your own money. You leverage other people's money. You leverage the bank's money. Now, that's good debt. Bad debt is when you buy a Maserati when you can only afford a Toyota Tazz. Good debt is when you buy a block of flats or buy a business park, and but the income is paying off the debt.
Yep.
So there's good. So don't try to be debt free. Try to gear your debt in such a way that it's positive for you. This is what the banks do, right? They loan. You put $1 million into your bank account, into your savings account. All they're doing is they're using that. They're making 20% a year and giving you 4%.
Yep.
For 100% a year.
Be the bank.
Yeah, exactly.
Listen, we got some people on the stream. I just want to say hello, greetings, everybody. Thank you for joining us. If you don't know us yet, we're the Yin Yang of Sales. My name is Vinesh Malraj. On the other side, from the south, we have Mr. Stephen van Basten. Today, we're talking how you can increase your net worth. We're just talking about some good debt versus bad debt, assets versus liabilities. I just want to go to something very clever that you said earlier. I believe this to be true, that anyone in almost any state of economy, good economy, bad economy, great economy, anyone, I believe, could take your advice or would consider your advice. Let me not say take your advice. Would consider your advice to say, I can sacrifice 100 Rand a month on an Infinity account. I can sacrifice 100 Rand a month on a Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin at 100 Rand. I can take 100 Rand and put it in a Satrix account. I can take 100 Rand and I can put it in a 32-day call account, whatever the vehicle is that you decide. But just that principle of getting rich is not a it's not hard work. It's not labor. It's, you just got to start somewhere, Stephen. So where can, whether you're 20 or 40 or 60, where do people start, man? Well, what thoughts do you have on that?
Well, firstly, so let's just go back a bit. If you started at 20 and you put 100 Rand away, and then maybe, at 21, you put 150 Rand away, and then when you were 22, every time you get an increase, you just add a bit more, or you make some commission, you add some in there. The power of the compounding over a 30-year period, or a 40-year period from 20 to 60 is astounding. It's astounding. You cannot believe, So my suggestion is work out a budget. How much do you earn? How much do you spend? What does it cost you? What's over? And then take a percentage of your income to savings, and the same percentage to invest in. Okay, so that it's not a number; it's a percent of what comes in. So when that grows, then it grows accordingly. And then there's this concept also: pay yourself first. Pay yourself first. In our budget, Jack and my budget that we have a very comprehensive monthly budget. But the first things on the budget are Satrix, Bitcoin, BCBS, all of our investments. So symbolically, we pay ourselves first, even on our spreadsheet. So that should be a non-negotiable. If you've said you're going to put in $200 a month and some school fees come up, you pay the $200 a month. You put the school fees on credit card or something else. You do not slip on those, and it just becomes a habit. Before you know it, you don't miss it. Vinesh, when you had your daughter, you probably couldn't afford it, but you had her anyway, and the money somehow managed. So there's just something when you just put it as a line item in your budget. And see it as an expense, because it is. It's
right.
Going your current, just see it as an expense, and then I need to make more money. I'm not coming out at the end of the month. Don't cut stuff off. Go earn some more money. Find some way of earning some money rather, and work it that way. So it's starting early is a good thing. But the nice thing there is, if you started at 40. You can start at 1,000 Rand, not 100 Rand, or
right.
5,000 Rand, not 100 Rand, and you can catch up. Because at 40, you've got 25 years or 30 years before you retire. Plenty time to build a huge amount of wealth, and especially with the compounding effect. If you're 70 years old or 80 years old, and this is a different story. You've kind of left it a little bit late, because as always, we need this funny thing called time. We work in cycles of kind of monthly and annual with money, until you get to the more high risk things, and right. I like John Demartini's methodology. When you start working with money, initially you work on low risk, low return investments and savings, because you need to be stable. You need most of your money in that. When that's in place, you may want to do some medium risk, medium return stuff. And then, but Vinesh, the interesting thing is nothing's really medium risk. I mean, we would have thought Steinhoff was low risk.
Yeah, indeed.
You could have lost a couple of million in a low risk investment, right? And then, so you've got your low risk, your medium risk. Then, right, if that's in place, you may want to buy a Bitcoin or two, or get into some sort of a bot trading thing in cryptocurrency. But you want small amount of money in there, not big amount. You've got to have the base strong, so that if you lose the high risk, it doesn't bother you because your base is strong. The worst thing you can do is try the other way. Sell your house, put 500,000 Rand on 00 at the casino. It's high risk, extraordinary reward, but you're probably going to lose. Yep. And then you've got nothing. So, you need that base first. But my advice to everyone, no matter what your age, just start with something. Start with something. It's just getting the habit of investing and saving. Remember, saving for big items and investing forever. Because there's another thing that happens, John Demartini claims, and he should know because he's a multimillionaire, right? When you earn 1,000 Rand a month, when your net worth's $1,000, you with thousandaires. When your net worth's $1 million, you have millionaires around you. When your net worth 5-10 million, you'll be surrounded by multimillionaires. When your net worth's $1 billion, you'll surround yourself with billionaires. So you also start, as your financial consciousness grows and as the inner game grows with it, you start to attract different people, and your life becomes better and better. There's no doubt. There's no doubt. Some dude once said, and I think it's true, I've been poor and unhappy and rich and unhappy, and rich and unhappy is much nicer.
I concur.
Yes, because when you're rich and unhappy, you can afford a good whiskey to help you drown your sorrows, or
Yep.
afford a little journey to Cape Town to lie on the beach, or you can afford whatever it is you want. Whatever.
Yes, indeed.
Listen, the luxuries, the material stuff make us feel lekker. It's nice.
Absolutely,
I
absolutely.
would rather.
So listen, that is.
I'd rather have a life of luxury, living in a nice home, driving nice cars, going to nice shows, and going to beautiful travel destinations than, sitting in a cave, meditating my whole life, extracting myself from the human experience.
Like that. Well done. Listen, so that was really cool, folks. For those of you who've just caught on the stream, we're wrapping it up now. We just spent the last 30 minutes or so talking with Stephen about understanding assets, liabilities, income, understanding good debt, bad debt, net worth, what makes you a millionaire. Some really powerful concepts to contemplate. As he said earlier, the disclaimer is, no, we're not financial advisors. No, we don't have a license. No, we don't give advice. We're just sharing with you some ideas and thoughts to get you thinking. So when you're doing your planning, you start somewhere. We're just encouraging you today to start somewhere with good advice from a good source that's credible. The parting shot from my side, before I hand back to you, is I would encourage people that, in addition to starting, I love what you said about make it a habit, make it a lifestyle, because spending is a habit. Investing and saving can also become a habit. So choose your habits. The third thing I want to say before we hand over is, join us every Monday at 1, every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Coming to you live on Facebook. Mondays we talk sales. Wednesdays we talk lifestyle mastery. And if you think that you get value from these sessions, come and join us at one of our talks. We do information-based webinars where we share more detailed processes in wealth creation, net worth creation, and creating the ultimate lifestyle by kicking average in the teeth. And there you can get the opportunity to come on one of our programs to help you fulfill your dream of acquiring the net worth that you deserve. Having said that, Stephen, I'm passing over to you. Parting shots, young man.
Yeah, listen, I'm just going to sum it up in one simple concept, and I think it's one sentence. It's better to have a positive net worth than a negative net worth. It's better to have a positive net worth than a negative net worth. Simple.
Yeah, indeed. With those words of wisdom, go and check out our page, like, comment, share this video, connect with Stephen and I on Facebook, LinkedIn. If you're a sales manager and you've got a sales team that needs a little vuma, get a hold of us, man. Until we meet next, here in the West, my name is Vinesh Maharaj. And on the other side of me, we have the amazing Mr. Stefan van Basten. Be great. God bless. Woo! Cheers, man.
Cheers, man.